Live now by Paul Wakefield, who we allowed to have time out so we could listen to Alan Hinks, but we heard from him earlier in the main auditorium. If you've any questions for Paul, we're on Twitter, #OnLand. We'd love to hear from you wherever you are, New Zealand, Canada, Australia, the States, or anywhere in Western Europe. Drop us a line at #OnLand. Paul, that was stunning this morning. I mean, your photographs are amazing.
Thank you.
Obviously, you're balancing the commercial with the personal, and you talked about that. How much creative license do you have with the commercial bits that you do?
Quite a lot. I mean, if once you get a job, they're obviously choosing the photographer for their personal style, because there are a lot of commercial photographers out there they could choose, and they tend to go for someone's look. And when I mean that, I mean their style. So it is my job really to get as much of my personal work into it as I possibly can. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not. But I think because I work instinctively on my personal work, I can't but help bring some of that into my commercial work. So I don't actually have to make an effort, because I'm constructing the image the way I like it, but I still have a layout to work to, and I have to respect that.
Mm-hmm. So
it's not my photograph. It's the agency, the client, the agencies, and the team's photograph. It's a big team effort, and I have to respect that. But I do have to put something of myself in it. And
you've got agents New York, Paris,
and London.
And London.
Yeah.
And it sounds terribly glamorous. You're all over the world.
I know, I sound like a perfume, don't I?
How glamorous is it?
It's not actually that glamorous. It's incredibly good fun. It's incredibly good fun, but it's incredibly hard work. It's very risky, but I enjoy the risk. You can't afford to make a mistake. You can make little mistakes. And also on jobs, things always go wrong. Mm-hmm. However good you plan things, they always go wrong. And you have to not panic, and you have to get around them, and you have to have backup.
Do you get nervous?
Never. I get very nervous before I work, but as soon as I step onto the set, if you like, and when I mean it's not in the studio, I mean in the whole in the arena of the job, mm-hmm. I'm completely tranquil.
Yeah.
But I'm very busy,
mm-hmm.
and I'm very active, and my antennae are like this. But I'm not. I'm not nervous. No, because I actually really love it.
Yes, you can tell. I mean, the way you speak about it with that passion. Do you ever get annoyed, or are you ever disappointed with what a client does with your image?
No, not really. I mean, I might be disappointed, yes, but I never get angry, because after it's gone away from me, I sometimes have a lot of work to do in the retouching of a job now, because it all goes on system, and there's a lot of work to do after you've taken the pictures. You might take half a dozen pictures that need to be put together. I mean, one of the biggest comps I ever did was 30 pictures, and they had to be put together, and I had to oversee that with the retoucher. So there's a lot of work. Sometimes there's a lot of work afterwards, and so if you've got that control, you can keep it. But if that control goes out of the company that I choose to use to the agency in another country, I've got no control.
We saw, thinking about the challenges and things that you have, the photographs for Air Mauritius of the butterflies and the feathers, and you talked about the challenges within those. Do you still come up against challenges that you've never had to deal with before?
Every job has got something that is a little bit different to something else, but that, for instance, that was a particular challenge, because that was a lot of retouching. It was all photographic, but it was all elements put together. It wasn't really straight. It was straight photography, but you had to imagine all the elements in your mind, and you had to keep them in your mind for each ad as you were going along. I mean, for example, there was one of shells, and the clouds are made of shells, and I thought, this is going to be the easiest one. I'll just dump a load of shells on blue paper and fiddle around with them. But it just didn't work like that. It was so difficult, because if you didn't have a shell looking like a shell, you thought, what's that blob there? What's this blob there? What's that blob there? So you had to arrange every single one in the cloud. And then, of course, once you start doing that, it starts looking forced. Mm-hmm. So, it's quite tricky.
And it's more unusual for you, I think, because a lot of our speakers have talked about the time and patience that landscape photographers need to have. You obviously do have all that time and patience when you're arranging things like that, but very often, as you say, there's a lot of preparation, and you'll go and you'll do sort of initial shots and look at light and everything else. But when you actually get to taking certain shots, you are under pressure. You do have a deadline.
I'm under massive pressure, yeah. And some of the moments that you need to get the pictures are 10 minutes at a certain time of light, and if you don't get it in that 10 minutes, that's the day you've got that everyone's got on the team to do that shot. And if you don't get it in that 10 minutes, you're stuffed.
And so you must have quite an adrenaline buzz with what you're doing.
It's incredibly an adrenaline buzz. It's like being in a race. Mm-hmm. Not with any other competitor, but with the elements, if you like, and with all the other problems that involves. But it's great. It's good fun.
How much do you like helicopters?
Yeah,
you're all right with them. I guess you have to be.
I've been up in a few, and as long as you've got a good pilot, that's
Yeah, that's the main thing.
That's the main thing.
Dorcas has a question for you. She says, I have to ask, what is the lock of the sweaty armpit? Is it Rannoch Moor?
Yes.
It is. Well done, Dorcas. You got that right. She's been with us yesterday and today and asked lots of good questions.
That was in the pub quiz we had last night.
Was it indeed? Right, okay. To what extent then, when you're doing your personal photographs, does the commercial stuff come into it? Do you take your personal photographs and think, oh, I know what firm this would be a good ad photograph for, or is it completely separate?
Totally separate. I know. I mean, some of the images that I have go into a stock library, and yes, I get paid if someone uses them for something, and sometimes you can get paid vast sums of money because they're using them for an exclusive 3-year usage. Right.
Okay. Which means you can't show them anywhere else.
I can't. The agency cannot sell them to another client in that 3 years, and so they have to pay you quite a lot of money.
And being a landscape photographer, again, some of our speakers have spoken about it being quite a solitary pursuit. Obviously, when you're working commercially, you've got a whole team with you, and then when you do your personal stuff, you're completely on your own. Which do you prefer?
Both.
Both.
Yeah, I really like. It's a great balance. And if I don't get enough of the commercial thing, I really miss it. And if I don't get enough of my personal thing, I get edgy and miss it. Yeah. So yeah, I like them because they're so totally different.
They give you different things, presumably.
They give me different things, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. How's it been being part of this conference?
Oh, it's brilliant. It's really, really good. Yeah.
It does feel a bit like a family,
for me.
And yeah.
Putting myself in the sort of public spotlight, which I wouldn't normally do. Not because mainly because it's not within the sort of boundaries of how I like to operate. I'm not a very good speaker. This makes me more nervous than doing a commercial job.
Well, I hope you're feeling less nervous now, because you were
fine.
Great on stage, and that's been absolutely super. I hope you've all enjoyed that wherever you're watching. Remember, it's #OnLand to ask any questions. Hans Strand will be here at 2:30 this afternoon. But for now, Paul, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much. Thank you.